Today, we're going to peel back that super polished veneer of television to look at the moments when it all just went completely wrong.
You know, we invite television into our homes. We trust it. It's meant to be this safe, curated window to the world, a guest in our living rooms. But what happens when that window doesn't just crack, it shatters? And all of that raw, unpredictable, and sometimes, frankly, terrifying reality just comes bleeding through. So, let's start with the most direct kind of broadcast failure you can possibly imagine, when an outside force literally seizes control of the airwaves. We're talking about the signal hijackers, the real ghosts in the machine.
This one is one of the most surreal and just enduring mysteries in broadcast history. Picture this. It's a Sunday night in Chicago, 1987, and two different stations get hijacked. The first one, on WGN, was brief, only about 30 seconds. This strange figure in a Max Headroom mask just swaying wildly to this awful buzzing sound. But then, 2 hours later, during an episode of Doctor Who on WTW, they struck again. For a full 90 seconds, the signal was just filled with distorted audio, bizarre references, and it ended with the masked figure getting spanked with a fly swatter. Seriously. And the craziest part? To this day, nobody has any idea who did it. It was this bizarre, chaotic act that, when you look back, almost feels like a preview of the digital anarchy and anonymous trolling that would eventually define the internet.
But as weird as the Max Headroom incident was, signal hijacking isn't always about pure chaos. It actually has a pretty long history as a tool for protest. Back in 1986, a man calling himself Captain Midnight interrupted an HBO broadcast to protest subscription fees. A year earlier, Polish astronomers hijacked state TV to get messages out from the Solidarity movement urging an election boycott. And in 2002, Falun Gong activists in China broke into state-controlled broadcasts to protest government oppression. In all of these cases, the broken signal wasn't just chaos, it was actually a weapon against censorship.
All right, so that's what happens when someone breaks in from the outside. But what about when the system collapses from the inside? Let's talk about those moments when all the meticulous planning, all the scripting of a huge, high-stakes live event just completely falls apart right before our eyes.
And you really can't talk about this without bringing up the Oscars. This might just be the most infamous flub in Academy Awards history. The presenters, Warren Beatty and Faye Dunaway, were handed the wrong envelope, the wrong one. This led them to announce La La Land as the winner for Best Picture. So the cast and crew, they're all on stage, they're giving these emotional acceptance speeches, and then you start to see these frantic stagehands in the background realizing the horrible mistake. The actual winner was Moonlight. The confusion and the sheer disbelief on that stage was, you could feel it through the screen. It was pure unscripted chaos where the biggest award of the night was given away and then taken back with the entire world watching.
And if you thought that was awkward, a similar, and you could argue even more personal disaster happened at the 2015 Miss Universe pageant. The timeline is just excruciating to think about. At 8:58 p.m., host Steve Harvey crowns Miss Columbia as the winner. She's got the crown, she's waving, crying, living out her dream. 2 minutes later, Harvey has to walk back out on stage. He says, "I have to apologize." He'd read the wrong name. By 9:03 p.m., in one of the cringiest moments in TV history, the crown is physically removed from Miss Columbia's head and placed on the actual winner, Miss Philippines. A life-changing moment that happened twice in under 5 minutes.
So we've gone past technical glitches and human error. Now we're getting into something a bit more profound. Those moments when the carefully constructed persona of a celebrity or a TV personality just completely shatters, revealing nothing but unfiltered, raw emotion.
Here we have two really different forms of on-air rebellion. Back in 1994, Madonna appeared on David Letterman's show. She was, as she put it later, in a gangster mood. She went on to drop the F-bomb 14 times, smoked a cigar, and just playfully refused to leave the set. It became the most censored talk show episode in history. Then you jump to 2007, and you have MSNBC anchor Mika Brzezinski. She was so fed up with her own show's non-stop coverage of Paris Hilton's jail time that she first tried to set her script on fire. When that didn't work, she just got up and fed it into a paper shredder, live on the air. One was a chaotic personal outburst, the other was a protest against her own news agenda.
And now the stakes get much, much higher. We're moving into territory where the broadcast is broken, not by words or mistakes, but by sudden, unscripted acts of violence.
This was a moment that absolutely mesmerized an entire nation. On June 17, 1994, the slow-speed chase of O.J. Simpson's white Ford Bronco began. An estimated 95 million Americans were glued to their TVs, and major networks even interrupted the NBA Finals to broadcast it. For over 2 hours, this wasn't news and it wasn't a movie, it was something completely new. A live, slow-motion true crime drama playing out on the freeways of Los Angeles, and nobody had a clue how it was going to end.
And sometimes, that violence erupts in places that are literally designed for celebration. At the 2022 Oscars, Will Smith walked on stage and slapped comedian Chris Rock right after a joke about his wife. The stunned silence in the room, followed by Smith shouting from his seat, was absolutely chilling. It was a complete rupture of decorum. Compare that to the sheer brutality of the 1997 Tyson-Holyfield fight when Mike Tyson bit off a piece of Evander Holyfield's ear. In both instances, a controlled, highly anticipated event devolved instantly into raw, shocking conflict.
This brings us to our final and most profound category. These are the moments when live television bears witness to irreversible tragedy, the final broadcast from which there is simply no recovery.
2.5 billion. That's the estimated number of people who watched the funeral of Princess Diana in 1997. The television didn't just report on the world's grief, it became the medium through which that grief was shared and experienced by everyone, all at once. It was like a global wake held through the unblinking eye of a camera.
For sports fans, few things are more traumatic than witnessing the death of a hero in real time. In 1994, Formula One legend Ayrton Senna crashed fatally at the San Marino Grand Prix. 7 years later, in 2001, NASCAR icon Dale Earnhardt died on the final lap of the Daytona 500. Millions of people were watching, expecting entertainment, and in an instant, they became unwilling witnesses to tragedy.
And then there is September 11th, 2001. For hours, then days, live television was the only connection to a world that was changing by the minute. Anchors, like the one quoted here, were processing the horror at the exact same time as the viewers. The broken signal that day wasn't a technical glitch. It was the signal of a broken world, creating an indelible, shared trauma for billions of people watching.
So what's the takeaway from all of this? Well, these moments, from the totally bizarre to the utterly tragic, they've fundamentally changed our relationship with media. They've taught us that behind the curtain of production, reality is always just waiting to break through. Which leads us with a final question. In our modern media landscape, with its 7-second delays, carefully managed live streams, and hyper-curated content, have we lost something? Has the fear of the broken signal, the raw and unpredictable moment, led us to just buffer ourselves from reality itself? Is the era of truly live television even possible anymore?